Vulnerable Wetlands and Stormwater Management Planning, Part 5, GIS Maps, Subwatershed of Interest Detail Series. The Subwatershed of Interest Detail Maps is the fifth segment in the Protecting Vulnerable Wetlands and Stormwater Management Planning series. In this segment, we develop two map series for each subwatershed of interest. The base map for the Type 1 series incorporates the Index of Ecological Integrity data layer, and the base map for Type 2 series includes the hydrologic soil groups data layer. In previous segments of this presentation, we developed the town overview maps as well as the subwatershed of interest maps. The town overview map was designed to easily identify impaired waters in the community and waters for which a TMDL has been completed or is required. A subwatershed is an integral part of a river system that represents a limited land area in the town with confined drainage. These characteristics are ideal for stormwater management planning because they provide a controllable land area in which to focus town efforts to meet the TMDL required reductions in pollutant levels, and because the confined drainage ensures that improvements to the stormwater infrastructure will result in improved water quality in that subwatershed. A subwatershed is of interest when it is identified as a water quality hotspot as defined by the impaired water categories. For each subwatershed of interest that falls in part or entirely within the community, two types of maps are developed that provide further detail for planning purposes. To develop these maps, we begin with a copy of the subwatershed of interest maps created previously, so that we have a separate page for each subwatershed in the town that also falls within the river basin. Then we build the base layer, beginning with the digital orthophotos. This aerial imagery provides a landscape view of the subwatershed that makes it easy to locate vulnerable wetlands as well as potential sources of pollutants. The Massachusetts IEI layer overlays the aerial images as a base for map type 1. IEI is an acronym for Index of Ecological Integrity and is defined as the ability of an area to support biodiversity and the ecosystem processes necessary to sustain biodiversity over the long term. IEI is represented on the map as a range of colors from blue to brown. Areas with high ecological integrity are tinted blue, and areas with low ecological integrity are brown. For planning purposes, vulnerable wetlands located in areas of high IEI might be protected or preserved, as distinct from vulnerable wetlands in areas of low IEI, where the focus should be on improvement and restoration. The MassDEP hydrography data layer is an enhanced version of the older U.S. Geological Survey 1 to 25,000 scale hydrography and is maintained by the MassDEP GIS program. The data layer is added to highlight the location of rivers, streams, and water bodies in the landscape. The town-mapped location of stormwater outfalls provides insight regarding how stormwater discharges might be impacting waters of the Commonwealth. The towns of Canton, Sharon, and Walpole provided mapped drainage data to MassDEP for this project. Adding the MassDEP wetlands layer emphasizes the proximity of vulnerable wetlands and protected resources to stormwater discharges. Stormwater outfall data layer can be obtained from the town, engineering, or highway departments. Using the data layers described so far as a base, 3 Type 1 maps were developed. Map 1A displays the vernal pools, vernal pool clusters, and headwater streams. Map 1B illustrates critical areas defined in the Wetlands Protection Act stormwater regulations to include Zone 2, wellhead protection areas to public water supplies, cold water fisheries, outstanding resource waters, and bathing beaches. Map 1C include land use types that are known to have high pollutant export loading rates that may be sources of pollutants. A similar design for Type 2 maps begins with digital orthophotos as used to create the base for Type 1 maps. In this case, the IEI layer is replaced with hydrologic soil groups. Specifically, the Type A and B soils are shown because they provide the best soils for treatment and infiltration of stormwater. We add the hydrography to highlight the location of water bodies in the landscape. Then the MassDEP wetland resource areas and town-mapped stormwater outfalls. The wetland layer emphasizes the proximity of vulnerable wetlands and protected resources to stormwater delivery. And finally, using this as a base, we add the same vulnerable wetland detail that we used with the IEI base maps, where Map 2A superimposes certified and potential vernal pools, vernal pool clusters, and headwater streams on the base layers. Map 2B illustrates the location of public water supplies, outstanding resource waters, and other critical areas. And Map 2C presents land use types known to have high pollutant loading rates that may be considered when looking for potential sources of the impairment in the subwatershed. For additional information regarding vulnerable wetlands and using GIS maps for stormwater management planning, please contact Nancy Lynn or Alice Smith of the MassDEP Wetlands Program. Our email addresses are nancy.lynn@state.ma.us or alice.smith@state.ma.us. References and links for vulnerable wetlands presentations can be found on the MassDEP websites under Education and Outreach. Vulnerable Wetlands and Stormwater Management Planning presentation is funded in part by a Federal Clean Water Act Wetland Program Development Grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, Region 1.